And we are live if we're ready to go ahead and start. So good afternoon. My name is Laura Peel. I'm the JWB Director of Information Technology and your technology moderator. Board members, I want to take a roll call to verify that audio communication is working. Please say present to indicate you can hear me. I'm getting that feedback again. Okay, sorry about that. Susan Ralston.
Present.
Mike McCurrick.
Present.
Rick Butler. Is Rick on? I don't see him. Brian Ongst.
Present.
Bob Dillinger.
Present.
Bernie McCabe.
Present.
Dr. Grego.
Present.
Chief Milliken.
Here.
Judge Moore.
Present.
Karen Seal.
Present.
Okay, thank you. Now I will turn it over to our CEO, Beth Houghton.
Good afternoon. I'm Beth Houghton, CEO at JWB. This budget hearing of the Juvenile Welfare Board of Pinellas County is being conducted remotely, consistent with Florida Governor DeSantis' Executive Order 20-69 of March 20th, 2020, due to the current state of emergency throughout the state of Florida, given the outbreak of the novel coronavirus, COVID-19. In order to mitigate the transmission of the virus and reduce risk of COVID-19 illness, we have been advised and directed by the state to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order EO 20-69 suspends the requirement of the Sunshine Law to have all meetings in a specific public place and to require a quorum to be present in person. EO 20-69 has been extended by EO 20-193 and amended by EO 20-179 to allow our trim hearing to be conducted virtually. These executive orders posted on the JWB's public notices website allow public bodies to utilize communications media technology to conduct its business. For this meeting, JWB is convening via Zoom webinar and telephone conference posted on our website, which clarifies how the public may join and participate. In compliance with section 200.65 of the Florida statutes, the Pinellas County property appraiser mailed the truth in millage or trim notice on August 24th, 2020. Please note this truth in millage or trim hearing is being recorded on Zoom webinar and YouTube Live. Also, some attendees are participating by telephone conference. Participants are advised that people may be listening who do not provide comment, and those persons are not required to identify themselves. Accordingly, please be aware that others may be able to see you. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording and will become a part of the public records of the Juvenile Welfare Board of Pinellas County. Laura Peel, JWB Director of Information Technology, will serve as the technology moderator of the remote participation by JWB board members, JWB staff, presenters, and the public.
So permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda can hear me and are present. Staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Beth Houghton?
Yes.
Judith Warren? Judith, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Laura Brock?
Yes.
Linda Leedy?
Yes.
Anticipated speakers on the agenda, please respond in the affirmative. Colleen Flynn?
Present.
Diana Caro?
Here.
Lynn Delator?
Here.
Laurie Lewis?
Here.
Thank you. Now please mute your device until you are called on to speak.
All of the materials for this public hearing are posted on JWB's website with the agenda for the meeting, and we recommend that JWB's board members and the public follow the agenda as posted unless we note otherwise. We're now turning to our budget hearing process, but before we do that, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. The chair asks staff to present the proposed fiscal year 21 budget components. After staff has presented, the chair will call for public comments. Please use the raise hand feature in Zoom webinar or press *9 if you are on a telephone conference line to be recognized to speak. The moderator will call on each person by name or the last 4 digits of the call-in number, allowing 3 minutes for comment. When the chair calls for board discussion, please physically raise your hand in Zoom webinar to be recognized. If you are on a telephone conference line, please press *9 so the moderator may unmute your line. Finally, each vote will be taken as a roll call vote. Further, for all participants, board members, staff, and the public, please remember to mute your phone or device when you're not speaking, and please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. With that, I will turn the millage and budget hearing over to Mrs. Ralston, JWB Board Chair.
Good evening. Welcome to the Juvenile Welfare Board's first public hearing for the fiscal year 21 millage rate and budget. Our first order of business is the presentation of the proposed fiscal year 21 tentative millage rate. And for that, I'll ask Laura Brock to present the tentative millage rate for this meeting.
Good evening, Laura Brock with the Juvenile Welfare Board's Chief Financial Officer. And I'm going to share, probably didn't share the right one. Hold on, let's try it again. There we go. Okay, so we will walk through the millage rate and the budget. There we go.
Laura, you may want to make that in presentation mode.
I did. Is it?
No, we don't see that. We see the PowerPoint.
Oh, okay. Are you seeing it now?
We just see the regular PowerPoint, but I think it'll work. We just don't see the presentation mode.
Click slideshow.
Yeah, I did click the slideshow. Let's try it again.
It's still, well,
No, let me.
we're still on a different screen.
Yeah,
We're seeing your next slide now.
I'll just.
There we go. That'll work.
I'll do it this way. No problem.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to just remind you where we are with the budget timeline. And here we are, September 15th, 2020, the first public hearing. This slide has been updated from the slides that you had received earliest. There was a typo here for fiscal 20, which now reads 21. Then on September 27th, the trim will go in the newspaper and advertising for the next hearing. And then we've got the hearing scheduled for September 29th for the second public hearing. And then when approved, it'll be effective October 1, 2020. So a little history about our millage rate. It's been at 0.891 since fiscal year 13, and it has remained at that level for the last several years. Here's showing us what the ad valorem revenues amounts have been over the last several years. And for fiscal year 21, we're looking at 78.22 million compared to 74.33 the previous year, which is an increase of about 3.8 million. The property values have seen an increase of 7.3% at 91.7 billion. And we are proposing a tentative millage rate to remain the same at 0.8981. We do require a 2/3 vote, and we're very appreciative that you're all here with us this evening. As I mentioned earlier, that millage rate has been unchanged since fiscal 13, and it's 6.12% greater than the rollback rate, which is 0.8463, and it yields revenues, as indicated earlier, of 78.5 million. The maximum millage rate allowed if we were to just get a majority vote would be 0.8950. So some key forecast assumptions. The updated fiscal year 20 had projected a lapse of 12.9 million. That's about 16%, which changed the opening fund balance amount, which I spoke to at the earlier board meeting as to why those numbers had changed. We are projecting a 10.3% lapse for the future year. We've also projected that there will be a decrease in property values and that the unassigned fund balance target will exceed the 8.3% percentage that the board looks for. We are looking at funding capital requests for applications to continue down the road at $1 million each year, and for future programming amounts to continue at $1.5 million each year. Cost of living adjustments for eligible programs have also been factored in to continue in future years. So you've seen this scenario again before, but it's just been updated to reflect the change in fund balance amount moving forward and the minor changes within the expenses. And so we are having a budget here of $113,653,985 with the millage rate proposed of 0.8981. I will stop here and turn it back over to Chair Wilson.
Okay, and this opens then the public comment question portion of the hearing regarding the tentative millage rate for fiscal year 21. And before we entertain any comments or discussion from the board, Laura, would you go ahead and do a roll call vote?
Yes, I will. When I state your name, when I say your name, please state your vote. Susan Ralston.
Before you do that, the record should reflect that Rick Butler joined the meeting.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Susan Ralston,
Yes.
Mike McCurrick,
Yes.
Rick Butler,
Yes.
Brian Ongst,
Yes.
Bob Dillinger. Bob, I can't hear you. There you go.
Yes.
Bernie McCabe,
Yes.
Dr. Grego,
Yes.
Chief Milligan,
Yes.
Judge Moore,
Yes.
Karen Seal.
Yes.
Thank you.
So Laura, I'll look to you, Laura Peel, to begin to assess whether we have any requests for public comment or questions at this time.
And I'm going to give it just a few moments to see if anybody raises their hand. There are no callers on the line. And it appears there is no public comment.
So I invite board members.
Oh, wait, excuse me. We just received one, Becky Rosinski. And Becky, you have 3 minutes and you should be able to go ahead and talk.
Hi, sorry. I thought that the chat was going to be abled, but it was disabled. So I was just curious. I mean, I'm just looking at the budget today and do oppose an increase, especially this year with so much going on for so many people, losing jobs, revenues down everywhere, that I don't know if it was entertained as to the Juvenile Welfare Board being able to look for funding elsewhere if there's a shortage in budget, whether it is to look for funding through, I don't know, applications, grants, private donations, United Way, or other options besides increasing the millage for the public. Thank you.
Thank you.
There is no increase in the millage rate. As I believe Laura Brock presented that it's been the same since 2013. Is that correct, Laura?
Yes, that's correct. There's no change in the proposed millage rate.
Thank you.
And I do not see any further public comment.
Okay. I ask the board at this moment, do you have any other discussion or comment regarding the tentative millage rate before we move on to reading the resolution?
Do we need to put a statement on the record that we have the supermajority as opposed to someone just trying to count it and determine that? I mean, should the chair make a finding that we have a supermajority that allows us to vote this way?
If I could, After we take the public comment, have the board's discussion, we will take a vote. It will require the 2/3, and we can make a statement that we do have the 2/3 necessary, which would be 8 out of the 10 board members.
And that comes following the resolution that will be read next by Beth Houghton.
Correct. Ms. Houghton will read the resolution, and we will proceed that way. And at that point, you all voted yes, so we did have 10 out of 10 board members vote or indicate that they would support that millage rate.
And everyone is in it, all 10 out of 10 are in attendance at tonight's meeting, giving us 100% attendance.
Correct.
Okay.
Because we have a vacancy right now.
So with this concludes the discussion portion of the hearing. I will ask Beth Houghton to read the proposed resolution regarding the fiscal year 21 millage rate.
Resolution of the Juvenile Welfare Board of Pinellas County, Florida, adopting the tentative levying of ad valorem taxes for Pinellas County for fiscal year 2021, providing for an effective date. Whereas the Juvenile Welfare Board of Pinellas County, Florida on September 15, 2020, adopted fiscal year tentative millage rate following a public hearing as required by Florida statutes 20-20.065. Whereas the Juvenile Welfare Board of Pinellas County, Florida held a public hearing as required by Florida statute 20.065. And whereas the gross taxable value for operating purposes not exempt from taxation within Pinellas County has been certified by the county property appraiser to the Juvenile Welfare Board as $91,683,159,071. Now therefore be it resolved by the Juvenile Welfare Board of Pinellas County that the fiscal year 21 operating millage rate is 0.8981 mils, which is greater than the rollback rate of 0.8463 mils by 6.12%. This resolution shall take effect immediately upon its adoption.
So at this time, I will call for a motion and then a second to adopt the fiscal year 21 millage resolution. A motion, please.
I motion to approve. I'll second.
And Susan, we do have one hand up. It's Brian Ongst.
Brian?
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you. I just wanted to put on the record, since we did have a member of the public comment regarding the budget and the millage rate process, that pre-COVID, I think we had all discussed the potential of potentially decreasing the millage rate based on the failure of the third homestead exemption and the fiscal prudence and savings and planning that this board and the staff have done over the last 5 to 10 years, which really provides a 5-year forecast. Obviously, with the coronavirus pandemic, it would be irresponsible to consider reducing the millage rate at this point, since we serve as primary funder or at least significant funder to so many frontline organizations for our children and our families that are hurting right now beyond belief. And in my opinion, this pandemic just exemplifies the purpose of the Juvenile Welfare Board. So I just wanted to explain that to those who may be listening, who haven't been privy to our previous conversations and our strategic planning. But please note that the staff and the board have done years and years and years of future planning. And really, with the pandemic, it just would not be feasible or responsible at this point to lower the millage rate.
Thank you. Any other comments from board members? Laura, it's time to call for the vote of each board member for their vote on adopting the millage rate.
Was there a motion and a second?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, board members, when I call your name, please state your vote. Susan Ralston,
Yes.
Mike McCurrick,
Yes.
Rick Butler,
Yes.
Brian Ongst,
Yes.
Bob Dillinger,
Yes.
Bernie McCabe,
Yes.
Dr. Grego,
Yes.
Chief Milliken,
Yes.
Judge Moore,
Yes.
Karen Seal.
Yes.
Thank you.
At this time, we'll proceed to the presentation of the proposed fiscal year 21 tentative budget. And Laura Brock, once again, it's back to you for the presentation.
So second time is a charm. Put it in presentation mode. Is that in presentation mode for you?
No,
No.
but
Okay,
we can see it.
can you see it?
Yes.
All right, so the fiscal 21 budget revenue, just to summarize here, as mentioned earlier, the increase between fiscal year 20 and 21 is 3.8 million. We did factor in a collection rate of 95%.
Laura,
Laura, you're on the question slide.
What's that?
You're
we're
on the
not on the
question
correct slide for the presentation, Laura.
Let me,
We're seeing,
There you go.
yes, that's correct.
are you on this now?
Yes, we're on the fiscal year
We're on
21
the
budget
budget
revenue.
revenue.
I apologize for my technology skills. So yes, we've talked about the budget increase is about 3.8 million. We're calculating a collection of 95%, and we've also factored in a decrease in interest earnings for the next fiscal year. The changes in fund balance that we talked earlier, again, with the change in the lapse that we're projecting for fiscal year 20 will roll over into fiscal 21. And our unassigned fund balance amount comes in at 31.5, and we are meeting the targeted unassigned 3 months of operating expenses for fiscal year 21 as well. The program expenditures, the continuation of program expenses of 66 million for the fiscal year 21, with net adjustments for existing eligible programs for COLAs and lapse reductions, as well as the RFA for capital and technology, which we just approved at the board meeting at 1.250. Future programming continues at 1.1, and our contingency for the proposed budget for fiscal 21 is $1 million. If you recall, for fiscal 20, we started at 500, but that was increased to $1 million due to COVID. This is just an allocation of the program expenses between the different focus areas that we talked a little bit about relative to the strategic plan and some of the dashboards that we were looking at. And you can see the allocation accordingly. And our administrative expenses, again, another number that we looked at the dashboard, where our proposed budget is 7.4% of the expenditures. And you can see the changes between salaries. We do have an increase of one full-time equivalent, which has been budgeted in the FSI program under support area. And here's a 3-year expenditure relative to the budget trend, and you can see where we are in the different programs between the amended budget for fiscal 19, 20, and then the proposed budget for fiscal 21. You can see where we are again on those different focus areas. And that's it. So I will stop sharing this as well.
This opens the public comment and question portion of the hearing on the tentative budget for fiscal year 2021. Before we entertain any comments or questions, let's go ahead and call for this roll call vote. Laura?
Okay. Board members, when I call your name, please state your vote.
Actually,
Susan-
can I interject? We don't need to do a vote at this point. Right now, it's now that she's presented the budget, we'll take the public comment, we'll take the board discussion, and then we'll go ahead, get a motion, a second, and do the vote.
Thank you. All right, well, let's begin with Laura Peel to see if we have any public requests for comment.
And I'm going to give it just a moment. And it appears there is no public comment.
we'll keep that line open and check with the board members. Any board member have a comment on the tentative budget that we've been looking at since June, but tonight is the night. On any final comments or questions?
Do we have another resolution now?
Yes, we do. This concludes the discussion portion of the hearing, and I'll ask Beth Houghton to read the proposed resolution regarding the fiscal year 21 budget.
A resolution of the Juvenile Welfare Board of Pinellas County, Florida, adopting the tentative budget for fiscal year 2021, providing for an effective date. Whereas the Juvenile Welfare Board of Pinellas County, Florida on September 15th, 2020, held a public hearing as required by Florida Statute 200.065. And whereas the Juvenile Welfare Board of Pinellas County, Florida set forth the appropriations and revenue estimate for the budget for fiscal year 2021 in the amount of $113,653,985. Now therefore be it resolved by the Juvenile Welfare Board of Pinellas County, Florida, that the fiscal year 2021 tentative budget be adopted. The resolution shall take effect immediately upon its adoption.
Do I have a motion?
Move approval.
And a second, please?
Second.
Laura, do you want to do the roll call vote, please?
Yes. Board members, when I call your name, please state your vote. Susan Ralston,
Yes.
Mike McCurrick,
Yes.
Rick Butler,
Yes.
Brian Ongst,
You're muted.
Yes, sorry, yes.
Bob Dillinger,
Yes.
Bernie McCabe,
Yes.
Dr. Grego,
Yes.
Chief Milliken,
Yes.
Judge Moore,
Yes.
Karen Seal.
Yes.
Thank you.
That concludes the portion, the first of the two trim hearings with 100% attendance from our board. And so at this moment, I'll entertain a motion for us to adjourn this first trim hearing meeting.
So move.
Second,
So we'll see you on September 29th at 5:15.
thank you all.
Thank you.